What happens when a beloved daytime talk show host stands her ground? When a royal guest, used to being treated with deference, pushes too far? And here's the one phrase no prince expects on live TV: "This is my show." What unfolds is not just a heated exchange, but a cultural turning point, as Kelly Clarkson reminds the world who really owns the stage. It was supposed to be just another uplifting interview. Kelly Clarkson's producers had prepped a comfortable feel-good segment with Prince Harry to promote his new mental health campaign, the kind of interview that normally draws praise, a few tears, and viral moments for all the right reasons. In the green room, everything seemed perfectly calm. Prince Harry was cordial, even charming, smiling to the staff, sipping tea, casually joking with his security team. Kelly, reviewing her notes, was excited. "Let's give him space to talk about the cause," she told her assistant. "People still want to believe he's got something real to say." The lights went up, cameras rolled, and for the first 10 minutes, things were smooth. Kelly opened with her signature warmth. "It's so good to see you again, Harry," she said with a wide smile. "We've all been watching the incredible work you're doing with veterans." Harry returned the smile, nodding. "It's been a journey, Kelly, and I'm grateful for the chance to bring awareness." Then it happened. Kelly, emboldened by audience interest and a subtle producer cue in her earpiece, gently shifted. "I'd love to ask about how all of this, the work, the pressure, even your personal growth, fits in with your life back in California, and how that balance plays out, especially with Meghan." The shift in energy was instant. Prince Harry's smile faltered. "I thought we were here to talk about real issues, not feed the tabloids." Kelly didn't blink. She nodded slowly. "Of course, but I think many people find strength in your journey, your challenges. It's not about tabloids, it's about being human." But Harry didn't seem interested in nuance. His voice edged sharp. "I came here to talk about veteran suicides, PTSD, not to have my wife's name dragged into the circus." The audience went still. Kelly tilted her head slightly, still calm. "No one's dragging anything. I asked about balance. People admire your commitment, and they're curious about the man behind the work." Harry scoffed. "Curious? Is that what we're calling it? It always circles back to Meghan. Every single time." Kelly placed her cue cards down. "Well, Harry," she said with a quiet firmness that cut through the air, "this is my show, and I ask the questions. With respect, but also with courage. Because that's what real conversation is." The audience murmured. Some clapped. Others simply leaned forward. Harry shifted in his chair, visibly annoyed now. "It's always the same. I try to speak on something important, and the host pulls me back into the royal soap opera." Kelly stayed silent for a beat, the mark of a true professional, then responded. "Or maybe," she said evenly, "you're so busy defending your image that you forgot why you're here. To connect, to lead, not to control every word." Gasps. A few phones came up in the audience. Behind the cameras, a producer mouthed, "We've got something." But no one could have predicted how far this was going to spiral. Prince Harry leaned back, his jaw clenched, arms folded tightly across his chest. The lighting above caught the tension in his posture, highlighting the sharp change from relaxed royal advocate to agitated guest. "You say it's your show," Harry began, his voice low but heated. "But maybe that's the problem. Maybe people don't need a show. Maybe they need real conversations without the performance." Kelly's smile vanished, not from offense, but from something deeper: disappointment. "There's no performance here, Harry," she said softly but firmly. "Not when we're talking about mental health or the impact of war on veterans. Not when people trust me to help deliver truth, even when it's uncomfortable." The audience sat silently, sensing the tension escalating like a slow-building storm. Every word felt sharper now, every pause longer, heavier. Harry leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Then why bring Meghan into it? Why go there?" Kelly didn't flinch. "Because the world does. Because people look at your journey, your choices, your marriage, and they see themselves. They see their own hard decisions. That's not exploitation. That's empathy." Harry scoffed. "Empathy? You don't know what it's like to be hunted every single day. to watch your wife become a target for existing. Now it was Kelly's turn to lean in, her tone measured, her delivery razor sharp. You think I don't know what it's like to be picked apart, to be judged for your past, to be made a punchline? I've been underestimated my whole life, but I showed up, I built something with honesty, and I didn't walk away. The audience erupted in applause. It wasn't scripted. It was raw, loyal energy in support of a woman they trusted. Harry blinked, caught off guard. This isn't about your pain being invalid, Kelly added quickly, her voice softer. It's about recognizing that your story isn't just yours anymore. You've chosen to share it. And with that comes questions. Questions don't mean disrespect. Harry's foot tapped anxiously. What they mean is judgment. Constant, exhausting judgment. Kelly stepped in again. Then use the platform. Redirect it. Don't attack the people trying to help you amplify your cause. But Harry was unraveling now. It's not a platform when it comes with strings, when every safe interview becomes another chance to pry. Then maybe you shouldn't have come, Kelly shot back. Silence. The audience gasped again. Harry's expression darkened. Kelly exhaled through her nose, realizing she may have pushed too far, but refusing to retreat. I invited you on this show with respect, she continued, but if you came expecting a sanitized monologue, you're in the wrong place. This isn't Buckingham Palace. The air left the room. Even the crew in the wing stood frozen. Harry stood abruptly. The wire of his lapel mic pulled tight, caught briefly on his blazer before popping loose. His eyes burned with something between anger and wounded pride. Kelly didn't move. This conversation's not over, he said. Then sit back down, Kelly replied coolly, and let's finish it with some dignity. For a moment it seemed like he might, but his feet remained planted. And suddenly this was no longer just a royal interview. It was a standoff, a clash of reputations, a moment that would dominate headlines and social media threads for weeks. And it was far from over. The studio, still charged from the last exchange, now held the weight of expectation. Prince Harry stood firm, as if the very idea of sitting would be conceding defeat. Kelly Clarkson, her heels rooted in the stage floor, didn't move a muscle. Neither host nor guest would back down, and the tension became almost unbearable. Let me ask you something, Harry, Kelly said, her voice calm but piercing. You speak of dignity, of using your platform for good, and I respect that. But what exactly do you think happens when you storm out of an interview like this? What message does that send to the veterans you care so much about? Harry's jaw tightened. It tells them I won't be used, that their stories deserve better than tabloid bait. No one's baiting you, Kelly replied, gesturing to the cards in her hand. I spent days preparing thoughtful questions. I did my homework, but if you came here looking for a fight, I promise you picked the wrong person. A murmur rippled through the audience. Many nodded in agreement, emboldened by Kelly's unshaken poise. Harry finally sat, but it wasn't a surrender, it was a calculated decision to regain control. You want a soundbite, Kelly? Here's one, he said, staring down the lens of the camera. I'm tired of the narrative that paints my wife as the villain and my family as the fairy tale. That's not reality. Kelly didn't interrupt. She let him speak. But when he paused, she leaned forward. Then help us rewrite the narrative, she said. But don't expect me to ignore the parts of your story that matter to people. Your marriage, your mental health, your family journey. Those are the very things that connect you to the audience. Harry looked away, visibly conflicted. You think they care about the charity? Kelly asked softly. Of course they do, but what makes them listen is the man behind the cause. You can't separate the two. He turned back to her. Maybe I want to. And maybe that's not how it works anymore, Kelly answered, her voice unwavering. You don't get to control how people feel. You can only control how you show up. And right now, you're showing up angry, defensive, distrustful. That's not the Harry the world rooted for. The audience remained hushed. You could hear someone in the back shift in their seat, the tension so thick it clung to every movement. I didn't come here to be liked, Harry said through gritted teeth. I came here to talk about something that matters. And you still can, Kelly replied, but not if you keep burning every bridge the moment someone asks you a human question. Their eyes locked again, not as enemies, but as two people exhausted by the weight of expectation. "Do you want to keep talking?" she asked finally. "Because the camera is still rolling. The choice is yours." A beat passed, then two. Harry leaned back in his seat and let out a long breath. "Let's finish it," he said, "but on my terms." Kelly raised an eyebrow. "You'll find this is a conversation, not a monologue." The studio braced itself. The interview was back on, but something had shifted again. Now it wasn't just about the prince or the host. It was about what happens when two powerful voices refuse to be silenced, and the fallout of refusing to meet in the middle. The silence before Harry spoke again was heavy, not just with tension, but with possibility. Viewers at home were glued to their screens. The audience in the studio barely blinked. And producers? They had stopped trying to control anything. This wasn't a talk show anymore. It was a televised standoff. Harry sat forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "You want to talk about real connection?" he began, his voice lower now, steadier. "Let's talk about the Marine I sat with last month, the one who said he hadn't slept more than 2 hours a night since his second tour. He thought no one cared, that no one listened, that his story didn't matter." Kelly nodded slowly. "That's why this matters." Harry shot her a look. "But if he watched this, if he saw me sitting here getting grilled about my family instead of focusing on him, what would that tell him? That even when you try to do good, your past always overshadows it?" Kelly didn't flinch. "It tells him that people are complex, that you can care about veterans and still be human enough to struggle with your own life." The crowd murmured. A few people even clapped, softly at first, then louder. Harry hesitated. That was the first time since the clash began that he seemed surprised by support, as if he'd expected the room to be against him. "You say you're tired of being reduced to the drama," Kelly continued. "I get it, but you walked into this interview wearing armor. I asked one question, and you fired back like I'd declared war." He didn't deny it. Instead, Harry looked introspective. "Maybe I did," he said. "Maybe I'm so used to being attacked that I can't tell the difference anymore." The words settled over the room like a victim. It was the first honest crack in his defense, and Kelly seized it, not to strike, but to connect. "Then let's shift this," she said, "right now. No more jabs, no more sidestepping. You tell me what you want people to hear. You steer this." Harry looked her in the eyes. "I want them to know that service doesn't end when the uniform comes off, that there are thousands of veterans out there, in America, in the UK, everywhere, who are fighting invisible battles every day, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and most of them feel like no one sees them." "Then let's make them visible," Kelly said. It was a turning point. For the next few minutes, Harry detailed the stories of veterans who had come through his foundation. People who had lost everything. People who had rebuilt from the ground up. And as he spoke, the audience leaned in. Not out of curiosity, but empathy. No one interrupted, not even Kelly. Until finally, when he paused, she offered a genuine thank you. The cameras caught a brief moment where Harry exhaled like he hadn't in weeks. But just as the storm seemed to pass, a woman in the audience shouted, "Where's Megan now? Still hiding behind you?" Gasps, whispers, a sharp intake of breath. Kelly's face turned. Harry froze. The air shattered. Harry stood. "Say that again?" he asked sharply, turning toward the voice. But Kelly was already up, turning to the crowd. "Ma'am, sit down," she said, her voice louder than ever. "This is my show. We don't heckle guests. Not here. Not ever." The audience fell dead silent. Harry looked at Kelly, eyes locked in astonishment. That he hadn't expected. Not even from her. And just like that, the story wasn't just about him anymore. It was about her too. The air was thick with shock. Prince Harry stood motionless, eyes locked on the audience member who had just thrown Meghan into the fire. Kelly Clarkson, now on her feet, had shifted into full command of her domain, her voice clear, unwavering, and fierce. "I said sit down," Kelly repeated to the woman in the crowd. "You don't get to come here and throw cheap shots at someone who isn't even in this room. We may be live, But we're not lawless. Applause broke out. Not massive, not yet. But it was there, and it grew. Kelly wasn't just defending a guest. She was defending boundaries, dignity, and something the audience hadn't even realized they missed. Respect. Prince Harry turned to her slowly, jaw clenched, stunned. "You didn't have to do that," he said, voice low, eyes scanning her expression. "No," she replied, "but I did, because that's what a host does. That's what a human does. And more importantly, that's what someone who actually gives a damn does." The studio was still buzzing. Cameras remained locked in, catching every flicker of emotion. Kelly didn't flinch. She stepped closer to Harry, calmer now, but firm. "You've had every microphone in the world pointed at you. And yeah, maybe most of them asked the wrong questions. Maybe they poked where they shouldn't. But this is my show," she said, tapping her cue cards. "And here, I decide how we talk to people. Here, the agenda is truth, not trauma." For a moment, Harry didn't speak. His shoulders seemed heavier than before, as if years of defensiveness were loosening, but not yet gone. "You're right," he finally said, his voice quieter than it had been all day. "I walked in with a chip on my shoulder. I came in ready for a fight. But I didn't expect you to fight for me, too." Kelly shook her head with a half smile. "You didn't make it easy." "No," Harry admitted, "I didn't." A ripple of laughter moved through the crowd. Not mockery, but release. The pressure had cracked just enough for breath to return. "Then let's do what we came here to do," Kelly said, regaining control. "Let's talk about the initiative. Let's show people how they can help. And let's remind them that whatever's been said in the tabloids, the real story is the one we choose to tell today." But just as Harry was about to respond, a producer ran onto the edge of the stage, holding up a phone. His expression was urgent. He whispered something into Kelly's ear. She turned slightly pale. Harry saw it. "What is it?" The producer answered loud enough for both to hear. "It's already trending. The clip of your exchange, it's all over social media, and it's being twisted. People think you stormed off again." Kelly looked to the cameras, then to Harry. "Not this time," he said, standing up straighter. "We finish it." And that's exactly what they did. The final 10 minutes of the show were raw, powerful, and finally poised and aligned. Harry spoke about his foundation. Kelly asked about the success stories. The conversation became everything it was meant to be from the start, about service, purpose, and healing. When the credits rolled, the applause wasn't polite. It was thunderous. As they both stood from their chairs, Kelly turned to him one last time. "I wasn't going to let this fall apart. I meant what I said. This is my show." Harry grinned, exhausted but grateful. "And I finally understand what that means." They shook hands. No apologies, no dramatic exits, just two people, tired, bruised, but still standing. And outside the studio, the internet had already rewritten the narrative. But inside, everyone knew they had just witnessed something rare, a battle worth having, and a host who refused to lose her ground.